Welcome back to the Joseph Graham Show. I am super stoked today. I'm with my friend Andrea Merrill on Joe Ingram's show. I was a guest on the podcast. We kind of hit it off. We've been chatting probably for about a month and a half now. I did a recording on her show. Now she's coming back, bringing you her value, her wisdom, and all that awesome, amazing stuff she does. But Andrea, I'm going to let you tell people what you do because you're the expert on what you do. And I kind of have a high level. I know like you're a badass storyteller, you're an amazing entrepreneur, you're a leader of people, but I want you in your own words to tell people what you do, who you help.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Joe. I so appreciate you. It was so cool interviewing you, and just being here on your show is like so surreal, right? It's a full circle moment. Hi, I'm Andrea Merrill. I am a story to scale strategist and coach. I help entrepreneurs and speakers craft a TED-worthy talk that not only lands with their people, but also it sells. So I love to help my clients scale by using speaking as their form of just showing up, right? Like we are speaking right now. So it's literally just a amazing way to scale in such a fast dynamic way. And I really love helping my clients craft storytelling. I use psychology. I have my master's degree in science of psychology of applied behavioral analysis. So I use that as well in my arsenal.
No, I love that. That's perfect. So I want to dig in here because you say you help them use their stories to get TED Talks and to speak. But give me a little bit of a background of how you got into that, because I know you have a unique story yourself. So how did you even get into teaching people how to get on TED Talks or any of that type of thing?
Yeah, so my story started around 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And I actually almost died pregnant with my fifth child, and it was very traumatic. My appendix ruptured at 20 weeks pregnant with her, was in and out of the hospital, drain placed, MRSA, all the things happened. And if it wasn't one thing, it was another. And I was finally home 7 days out of the hospital. Water broke. I was like, seriously, like I have to go back to the hospital. Had her a month early, came home, and our house was in foreclosure. Our HOA was auctioning off our home, and our water got turned off. And it was so devastating for that to happen. So the water was in my name. I had this piece of shit red van. This thing caught fire in the snow. Like, I'm like, this thing, I don't know what's wrong with this thing. So I had to drive it. I couldn't take my little baby with me, of course, because it's hot here in Arizona. And we had no AC in the van. So I cried all the way to the water company. I have no idea how I turned back on the water, but I did,
Mhm.
thankfully. And on the way home, I listened to a podcast. So turned on a podcast and was like, okay, Andrea, like had just helped my friend. So because I was in the hospital, I have, 5 kiddos now. But I had four at the time. They weren't with me because I was hospitalized. I helped a friend grow her business to $1 million. So I helped her
Mhm.
rebrand, do her website, all the things. So on the way home, when I was listening to that podcast, I was like, something clicked. Like I helped her. I bet you I could help other people do this too. So I started my business on my iPhone 8, built
Mhm.
my website on my iPhone 8. Like nobody can tell me they don't have the tools because we all have a phone in our hands. So I
Yeah.
used what I had. First 7 days made $12,500, and that's where my business started. Luckily, that piece of shit red van went bye bye.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
the following week, we got a new car. It was awesome. But I was a brand website designer, SEO strategist. Now, over a year ago, I decided that I no longer wanted to do that. It wasn't serving me. Hit $250,000, was so excited, but I was like drowning, like
Mhm.
literally hated what I was doing. I was burnt out. I was like, if I have to do another fucking thing with this, I'm going to flip. Like it
Yep,
is
yep.
not happening. Burned it down. But then I
Hmm.
was like, okay, what were the points that I helped my clients? I helped them generate $80 million in revenue,
Hmm.
like over 80 million. So I started recognizing I helped them with their messaging, bringing out their core details of their story, like really getting them high level speaking, like getting into like Fortune 500, right? Like Inc. 50 under, like it was so amazing that I was like, okay, this is what I love to do. So I was like, I want to go back to using I used to be a behavior and trauma therapist for high profile cases here in Arizona. I love that, but I wasn't going to go back to that. I want to get
Hmm.
back to how can I use my degree? So then I pulled my degree in and I was like, I loved helping them craft stories, helping them create keynotes, helping them really stand out with who they are at their core. And voila, I figured it out and I became the story to scale, coach.
That is amazing. Now, there's a bunch of stuff that you kind of just skipped
Scooted over.
over,
I
but
know.
we're going to go back because
Good.
I hear different things. So we're going to go back to the shitty van
Mm-hmm.
and having the water turned off and having to first talk you into letting them turn the water back on to you heard a podcast, things happen for you. And that one podcast gave you the ability to at least bet on yourself. And when you did, $12,000 didn't magically appear because you had the gift inside you, but it wouldn't appear until you actually stepped into what you were doing.
Yeah.
First off, what was the podcast? Because if it's that powerful to get you to go from a lot of people in this point, they're like super broke, they're super tired, or they're in a job that they hate and they're trying to get out. But something said in that podcast helped you. Or tell me what it was in the podcast that made you take action. Because a lot of people listen to podcasts and they don't take action. So I want to hear that
Yeah.
part first, and then we'll
Yeah,
build.
so I wish I remembered what the podcast was. I don't have it. But what it was you can do anything and achieve anything if you put your mind to it. And that is something that I've always believed in. And I got chills saying it because it is something that we don't do. We don't bet on ourselves. We don't say, hey, you can do this. You are like, having a cheerleader behind you, like that makes a difference when you have a
Hmm.
rally behind you. But when you're solopreneur, you're by yourself, you have no freaking idea what you're doing. You're like, okay, that's great for you, but I can't do that. And that's what I believe. Like, oh my God, that's great for you, but I'm not ever going to achieve that. And that's what I had believed. I thought like
Hmm.
if you go to college, like you get a good job, you're great. Like you're good. It's fine. But I wanted so much more and I knew I wanted so much more, but I wasn't ever really willing to bet on myself in this way because I've been a serial entrepreneur. I just was never super successful in it because I always
Hmm.
had limited mindset. So, listening to this podcast, it was about betting on yourself, doing it, and really knowing like you can achieve this. And when I listened to it, I think like it again, something set off in my brain that I had helped my friend and it was
Hmm.
all virtual. Like all online. Like she didn't live here, she lived in Colorado. So, like, we had to do things online before COVID happened. And I was like, this is like, why aren't more people doing this? Like, this is amazing. There is
Yep.
like gold
Yep.
here.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that's what it like really instilled in me. And as soon as I got home, I was like, I am doing it. I also read a book. It's from Amber Ray. It's
Oh, I
R.A.
had her on my show.
Wander Over Worry.
Yeah, I had her on my show. Amber Ray. She's from Australia,
Yes.
right? Yeah, yeah. She was
Yes.
on my show last summer. Amazing woman. Got her on my show. She was, yeah, she's cool. I like her a lot.
So I read her book and then I was like, I can build a website on my phone.
Hmm.
So if you're going to read anything, read that Wander Over Worry because her book solidified that week.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Cool. My mind's going a bunch of different ways here, but yeah, when you said Amber, I had her on, I think last summer.
Oh my God,
Great
she's
lady. I'll send you the episode if you want to check out. She's
yes.
phenomenal. Um, but you said a few things. One, first, I had to get the belief.
Yep.
Second, I did this with a friend of mine and it happened, which gave you the confidence to move into the next thing. Third, though, you're doing it virtually. I'm going to
Yeah.
give a little speaker out here. I'm a top closer for a Fortune 50 company. I do sales with CEOs all day long on a Zoom, Teams, whatever video platform you are, and make millions of dollars for the companies I work for. Like, this is something that people should understand. You don't have to do it face to face. And most of my friends, honestly, until I moved here, didn't live close to me. Like, I literally have a best friend in Coeur d'Alene. I do have a good friend that lives here when I moved here, but friends in California, like all over because
Yeah.
of the internet and the reach you can have. But going back to your story, and you're just like saying, oh, I got my clients $80 million. Most people don't realize how significant that is because we're just going to rip the band-aid off. Most entrepreneurs, the average entrepreneur makes 86,000 a year. So at between 68 and 86,000, that's the average. Now there are the people that do better. But if you made them 80 million, you made over that. I'm not dumb. I understand math and stuff like that. What, but you, then you pivoted. So you actually find a business, and this is what I'm loving because I love your story. You find a business that's working and it's making you money. And most people won't walk away from that, just like they won't walk away from their dead end job because
Yep.
it's making them enough money to do. And you're probably thriving there. You're like, I hate this. I'm really good at this, but I hate this. I don't want to do this. How did you have the courage, first and foremost, or the ability to pivot away from a money making machine into something you hadn't done? You hadn't had a proven track record. Walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. It was hard. I'll be honest, it was super hard. It was scary. I was like, wait a second, I really like nailed this down, 5 years in it. Like this is my bread and butter. Like my family was feeling good. Like I remember I made the decision on my birthday in Sedona that I was no longer going to do this business. That I was like I'm done. And again, you can see it up here. It says virtually adventurous. My business name is no longer virtually adventurous. It's my name, Andrea Merrill. That was so hard to change. I was like, I know I'm getting a new sign. I'm going to have a new one behind me, but that's hard as fuck to be like, okay, I made this money and now I'm saying no. Like, I literally told my husband, you better go get a job because I'm done. Like, I
Mm,
am literally done. I had to take a couple months off.
mhm.
And when I say a couple, I mean like quite a few, like a good couple of months, few
Yeah.
months, because I was so just burnt out. And I
Mhm.
realized that it wasn't serving me. It wasn't serving my family, me being what pissed off and annoyed and working all hours. Like, Joe, I was on my computer 24/7, it felt like.
Mhm.
Like you
Yep.
should never be glued to your computer. Being an entrepreneur means I can do whatever the fuck I want whenever I want,
Yeah.
wherever I want to go. Like that's what it means. And when I had really looked at my business, I was like, it is not holistic. It is not something that I can step away from. I remember being on that trip and I had to bring my computer because I had to do some things. I shouldn't be working on my birthday. I shouldn't even be getting on discovery calls on my birthday, but that's what I was doing. But is that really what I wanted?
No. No.
Nope.
Oh,
So I said, that's it. I'm done and I'm going to figure it out. And my favorite saying that I live by is fuck it up and figure it out. And that's
I love that.
literally what I did.
Do you have a t-shirt for that one? Because that would
I'm
be a
going to
cool
get
shirt.
one. I'm going to get
I'll I'll
one.
I'll buy one. I have
Okay.
a buddy of mine, Matt Vincent, had a shirt that said "fuck around and find out." So sweatshirt. I
Yeah.
love it. I think it's great. Same type of thing. But I got to go back to this because it's funny. I see patterns. That's just how my life works.
I love it.
You were doing things that were amazing, and then you said I had to change the name from Virtually Adventurous to myself.
Yeah.
Quick, simple story. I changed the name of my podcast from the 150K podcast where I was helping people do stuff because my friends Liz Benny told me you need to come out from behind the curtain. And
Yeah.
with this, you had a business that was working, but the world needs you to come from behind the curtain so that you could do who you are and what you want to be. Because
Yeah.
I know so many people that say they're entrepreneurs or whatever, and they're really just made themselves their own job. If there's no freedom, if there's no
Yeah.
time, if there's no excess money, it's not true freedom of owning a business. You're self-employed. So I love that you saw it. You actually had the ability, because a lot of people don't, to walk away and take time to figure out what it is you want to do. But I got to throw this out. I'm almost going to say your husband is one of your best supporters because
Yeah.
you walked away from all this stuff, and I see the pictures and all. You guys are still married and all happy. So he must have been supporting you in this journey.
Yeah.
So I wanted to throw that out there too, because
Yeah.
everyone talks about how does this work? You have to have the right people in your corner, the right group, the right tribe. But then
Yeah.
lastly, I love this because this is just the vibe I get from you. You're like the, okay, cool, this is what I'm going to do. You're like the David Goggins version. So some people have to have everything planned out, and then Goggins just jumps out of the plane and builds a parachute going down. I'm
Yeah.
kind of half and half, depending on what it is I'm going to do. But you just seem like you just jump out of the plane, figure it out, and go down. But now you're training speaker, or you've trained business people to speak, to share their story, to do the things that they need. But you would have never accomplish this if you didn't bet on yourself a second time. I've heard it twice now. I had this first epiphany. I bet on myself and I went from being broke to making 80 million. I've had this next epiphany, but I had a job that was great money wise, but it wasn't what I wanted or fulfilled in. So now I'm stepping into a life I love living. That's how I would term it, with doing what you do now. So you
Yeah.
did it twice. So how did you build up the resolve, or what has been the outcome now that you made the move? Because those are two major risks that most people, once they got the one, would have just stuck with.
Yeah, so actually, me transitioning, I am making more money now than I was before. I am working way less,
Hmm.
like an insane amount less. I'm not like ever in this office. Like it's very rare that I have to come in here and I have like my coaching calls. It feels effortless, and
Hmm.
that is incredible. Like Fridays, my kids are home. I'll bop in and out of my office, but I get to like hang out with my family. I typically have Friday, Saturday, Sunday completely off. I don't have to do anything. And then during the week, like it's very easy. And then by the time the kids come home, I'm off of the computer. So,
Hmm.
literally, if I didn't bet on myself a second time and recognize the old patterns that I didn't want to bring into this, I wouldn't be where I am today. Like, I get to show up for my kids. I got to go to a mother son dance yesterday. It was like, so like I can't believe I get to live this life.
Hmm. Well, but this is the true entrepreneurial path that most people don't understand. The long game is the shortcut. You
Yeah.
had to go through you said you're a serial entrepreneur. So you had businesses
Yeah.
probably before the one that
Yep.
was successful. But what most people do when they get one that's successful is they lock themselves in and you are
Yep.
working 24/7, which is just another job. It's not freedom. But we
Nope.
all talk about we want freedom and how it works, whether it's hybrid or whatever you do that gives you the most time and effort. Like the only reason I stay with my sales job, I work 6 hours a day on average, and I make more money than most entrepreneurs. And I get to talk to CEOs of multi-million, sometimes billion-dollar companies and tell them that they need to buy from me. That's fun to me. So I enjoy it. But again, if I was working 12, 14-hour days, no, I'd walk away because I know my worth now. How did you learn your worth? Because I went through this process before where I was a people pleaser, where I was stuck in trying to make everyone else happy and never myself happy. And then the last probably 5 years, I finally have started that journey. Am I 100% there? No, I still have the tendencies that I have to fight. But how did you get to that point, or have you always just been the Sigma female, for lack of a better term, where you just paved your own path and didn't give a fuck?
Um, I'd love to say I paved the way and I didn't give a fuck. But I definitely, how do you put it? You know, It's really interesting. This has been an interesting path for me. Ever since I was a little girl, Joe, I said, I want to give a voice to those that don't have one. And that was so core to me that because I have that, that's always my mission
Mhm.
and that core value. So, yes, I've always been a serial entrepreneur. I've always done things. I used to have a sewing business, so I cloth diapered my kids because we couldn't afford cloth diapers.
Mhm.
So I did that, and that like gave us money to go to amusement park, like when I lived in North Carolina. So I feel like I've built up the resistance through the years. And I was abused as a child. So I was a victim of mental, physical, sexual, like the whole thing, abuse.
Mhm.
It was really rough as a kid. You wouldn't know that I went through that if I didn't tell you. So I have always had to build up that resistance. I've always had to be my own cheerleader. It took me a really long time to let my husband in to be my cheerleader and supporter. I've been with him since I'm 15 years old. We've been together for 21 years. Like we have five beautiful children together. You're right. He is my rock. He's behind
Mhm.
me. He's supporting me. He's like, let's go. And I needed to always build that up. And I need to always recognize what is in front of me and who I am and what I've achieved because it's really hard for me to see that. I'll be
Mhm.
honest, it's hard for us. So, something that I did to really build my confidence was I got with a bunch of people that were in my trusted circle and I asked them what they saw of me, what they believed in me, like what did they see? And what I got back brought me to tears. I had 150 sticky notes on
Mhm.
my wall telling me what a badass I was. That built so much confidence in me and made me realize I am a cycle breaker. I am somebody that's confident as fuck. I am someone that is worthy. I am someone that doesn't need to go get another certification to be a badass coach. Like it was so cool to do that exercise. And I believe that's what's built my foundation and my core and why I keep moving forward.
First and foremost, thank you for sharing that story because a lot of people can relate. A lot of times, this is what I see in entrepreneurs that really are successful. Four things. One, they had a traumatic event in their childhood. You and I both meet that, and ours are similar. I don't know if you've heard I don't think I talked to my story, but eventually I'll come out with that. Very similar in a lot of the abuse type of thing. Two, ADHD, dyslexia, or something like that. I hit both of those.
Check.
Three, chip on your shoulder. I'm going to prove the world wrong and achieve what I want. And then four, either high empathy or high intellect or a little bit of both. Like I'm very high on empathy. I read people for a living. That's like I know my zone of genius there. But I wanted to go now on zone on this. Your circle of friends that you were able to find, which I'm gonna bet were not from your hometown. They were not people you knew from before, but people outside that maybe had been clients or could be had run into to begin with, spoke life into you. You were already a fighter rising up, doing the things you needed to do. Um, I almost think like eagle or wolf. I have weird thoughts in my head sometimes. Like I think my spirit animal would be a wolf and an orca. I know they're completely different and they're in different bodies of waters, but that's just a different story. But just having them speak life into you and then you put it on the sticky notes, you have another pattern. You get words of encouragement, you get words of saying you can do this. I am a badass, I am able, but you surround yourself with it. So it's not just one time hearing it, you're hearing it on the podcast. When you looked around, you were seeing it and it built that foundation. And I think that foundation qualified you for the next level. So for people that are listening, you understand she's giving you the path she went through. I'm not saying you have to endure the things she endured, but you have the same type of path. So I just wanted to commend you and say thank you for that because a lot of people in this space will not open up about what happened in their life.
Yeah, and that's why I'm a different storytelling coach. Like a different speaker coach that you will not find. And that's because I believe that your story matters. And if you don't share that story, you're going to have a really hard time, like especially like us solopreneurs, right? Like us entrepreneurs, we're out and about, we're talking to people. If you talk about your story or you say something personalized, they want to know more about you. How easy is it to sell to that person when they have a vested interest and they know about you? Like on my website, I have my whole journey and story on how I got started. I got a $60,000 client from that. And they also cried from that about page. Granted, I had never met them. I never had a discovery call with them, and they were already bought into me. So that is the power of bringing your story into your life and breathing that into other people.
So how do you help people do that? So we've been talking about you, and I feel confident now they got a good, at least a little taste to go check you out. But how do you help people? Because there's a lot of people that A, feel embarrassed about their past, B, aren't used to talking in front of people, or C, they've never done something like this and they feel weird putting themselves forward, whether or not they're badasses, they've accomplished all these things. Because we always see our faults and weaknesses as well. How do you help people start to craft their story?
Yeah, so I like to call it story mining, is where we start off. And I have 9 different categories in this story mining process that I've come up with. I really took how I used to be a therapist into what I do now. And that is because people do need therapy to get through all of that. What you just said is exactly how they're feeling, but they want to speak. They
Mhm.
want to do those things. It's just within them, they're not there yet. And I say yet because I take them through a therapy process. So we do story mining where we dive into their personal story, their what they've done, like I just told you, right? Like what happened in my childhood, what happened when they first got started in their business, what's going on now, where are they at, have they had moments that they just wanted to quit, that they didn't want to move forward, what kept them going. So we really dive into all of that. And then lastly, I tailor section number 9 to them. So what is their offerings? What are they doing? How are they
Mhm.
making money? Because then I weave that into their story. So typically it takes about 2 sessions to go through that story mining process and for me to build out their keynote for them. Then we go into role playing. So this is where they're able to speak what I have written about their story. And this is where they get to, if they want to add more, or maybe they want to remove things, or maybe they're like tripping over some words, then we fix it. And then I go over their pacing because some people pace faster, some people go slower. So then we have to see, right? Like how many
Yep.
words do we have to add? Because a typical keynote is around 7,800 words for an hour if you're pacing faster. So it's just about where do you land? And then as soon as we're good on that, we move into the confidence stage. What is the confidence? How are we speaking it? How do we feel good about selling from stage? What does that look like? And that is typically like the beginning stages of what we're going into those foundations.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And a lot of people have a bad concept of sales because they don't understand that it's just helping people.
It
That part
just
popped in my
helping.
head when you said that. Yeah, you're
You're
just
right.
helping them. Yeah. The problem
Yeah.
is that we have that, like anything else, we have that dichotomy of this is icky. It's not icky if I'm
Right.
helping you solve a problem. No, I love that aspect of it. And I've heard this in the space because I've talked to a lot of different like speaking coaches or
Yeah.
whatever. Some of them shouldn't be speaking coaches because they've never been on a stage. I don't know why. I'm gonna throw this out. If you've never done the thing, I'm probably not gonna be your cheerleader to do it, to coach, because you need to actually have the process worked out. I know you spoke on stage and like, but
Yeah.
it's interesting to me. But like I've heard the do a TED talk, not do a TED talk. What is your thoughts? 'Cause I know you help craft it. What is the
Yeah.
value of a TED talk for people that maybe don't know?
Oh my God, the value of a TED Talk is going from not being seen to seen. So, doing a TED Talk is a quick, down and dirty, big idea. So, you have to have a really big idea to be able to get onto a TED Talk. I just got one of my clients on one, it was awesome. Um, I do the application for them. I again interview them and then fill out the application for them, all of the answers, so that they then land. She landed it the first time, which is awesome.
Right.
But the point is now she's getting in front of hundreds of millions of people that are going to have eyeballs on her business. So that is absolutely incredible for any entrepreneur to be able to get onto a TED Talk and say, hey, I've been on a TED Talk, like a TEDx. Like you get that in your all of your access now, right? All your assets for marketing. I'm a TED Talk speaker. Like I also interviewed someone, one of my friends, and she was on TEDx. It got her a movie deal. Like amazing, huge opportunities just because you bet on yourself.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I'm listening to your thing. By the way, she's not just telling you what to do, she's helping you get on stages and get the things you're doing. So if you're looking for an actual coach, this is how they should do it. If they make you do all the work and write a little bit for you, they're not the right person. Um,
Right.
so with that, when you're talking to someone, they're just starting out, because I'm sure people that come to you to begin with have
Yeah.
not really been on stages, or maybe they've been on a podcast or a virtual, but haven't been on like a actual real stage. How do you help them craft to get on stages? Because your first few ones are harder to get because no one knows you, like you said. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you can land the TED Talk, but not everyone's there. How do you help people get on stages to begin with and then get paid on stages? Because that's the next step in the process.
Yeah. So actually the gal that I helped get the TEDx, I helped her craft her story for her first speaking gig. And it was through No Women here in Arizona, but she is based out of Charlotte. So they also have a chapter in Charlotte. That was her very first speaking gig. She comes to me, she's like, Andrea, I want to be on TEDx.
Mhm.
I have where I want to go in Charlotte. I was like, okay, girl, let's do it. She got it immediately, like out of 90 applicants. So that was her second time. But
I
she,
love it.
again, wanted this. If you
Hmm.
want it so bad and you can taste it, you're going to fucking get it. Like, do
Yeah.
it, do the thing. But I help my clients also land speaking gigs. So I get access to, I'm part of different agencies where I get access to over 1,000 speaking gigs. There are 1,000 speaking gigs that come out a day. So you have
Hmm.
ample opportunity to be able to speak. So nobody can tell me there's not enough out there. There is plentiful out there. And then after we get them speaking gigs, then we move into this paid aspect.
Hmm.
Because once you've done a few, you've gotten on some good stages. Now that my client's going to do this TEDx, she's going to be able to get paid speaking gigs after that. That's going to be easy for her. So it's all about what stage do you want to be on, but also what stage is your audience.
Yes. Yes.
It's not about getting on all these stages. It's
Mm-mm.
about what stage is going to get you clients. How are you going to scale from it? Because if we're just speaking to speak, like I'm sorry, fuck that. Like please don't
Yep.
do that. Nobody cares. Like we're not talking all about ourselves. We're here to change lives. So if you're going to change a life, be on a stage where the life is going to be given to the people that need it.
Yeah, no, I love that. Like with me, I would be great in the B2B space because I have that mastered. I'm really good at that. I'm good at connecting with C-level people. Like I know that. But I wouldn't be good on I could do it, but I could do a construction space like B2C,
Yeah.
but that's not my zone of genius. Like I've done it, but I'm not as good at it. You got to know who you're going to, who you're talking with, and what they want. So I love that. But
Right.
you said it again. If you have it inside of you and you really want to do it, you'll make it happen.
Yeah.
What do you do when you run into people that kind of like that, but they haven't gotten that fire in their belly? Can you teach that, or is that just going to be someone you have to be on and say, hey, until you really want it bad enough, I can't help you?
So I have this like magical power of helping people feel like they are superhuman,
Mhm.
that they're able to accomplish and do whatever the fuck they want. Like I am your cheerleader that you didn't know you needed. So if you get somebody behind you, you will then be like, oh my God, I should be doing this. Like, you need the right coach that's going to be like, okay, I want you to do this exercise. I want you to find 5 people, right? And do the same exercise that I did to help build their confidence. I want to be that cheerleader for people. So I believe that it is something that can be breathed into people.
Yeah, no, and I saw your energy change when you said that, like in
Yeah.
a good way. Like you just lit up like a
Yeah.
firecracker.
I'm
Like
like,
all of a sudden you're
yes.
like, oh, wait, this is my thing. Bam. And it's
Yes.
interesting because there's so many people out there that have the I it- I get pulled into this just because I'm this way. Like I like reading people. They have the right words, but it lands wrong because it's not from a place of who they really are. So I
Yeah.
love that you actually help people do that because there's too many fakes out there, and I don't like the fake people. Like
Yeah.
I don't like the fake people at all. That's why you'll see in my circle of friends, it's very tight. It's very there. So let's talk there though, because I met you through Joe Ingram. I know my network and I know your network. I was actually looking at it because I hadn't really just even dove into it because I knew you were an amazing badass and I didn't care. Like I don't look at people from. This is a funny way I am. I have people that are in people's eyes dirt poor but super happy doing what they're doing, and I know multimillionaires that are super rich that are pissed off and mad, and then I know the opposite of both. I just look at the person and I love like the dynamics. I'm curious, how did you build your network, or how important has that been? I know I just asked you 2 questions there.
Yeah. So how did I build it? I remember asking my mom for some money because I wanted to be in this mentorship. When I first started my business, I was like, I should be a part of a community. I knew immediately that I didn't know what I was doing and that I
Mhm.
needed to find other people that did know. I had kind of knew. So I got money from her. It was like $47, joined it. My business freaking skyrocketed. I found my tribe and I still have one, two, three friends from that community that I've been friends with for 7 years.
Yeah.
Like,
Hold there 1 second because I need to tell you that she spent $47 for her first community. So don't tell me you can't invest in yourself. If
yeah,
you can't do $47, go. Don't even listen to this show. It's not going to help you. You need to invest in yourself. Go back to.
yes.
I just wanted. I needed to pop that out because
No,
there's
that
so
was
many people
good.
that want free, but they won't do anything with it.
No, because free, you're not getting anywhere, right? Like you're not invested. Even if you put $1 into it and you're like, "Oh my God, this is my last dollar," you are going to fight tooth and nail to get back $2. Like you want to get back that money. So it actually got me 3 friends. It helped me get to that $250,000. Like that was actually an excellent community for me to be a part of. So I think that that's really important for people to remember is you have to find your tribe. You have to find your people. I honestly love that I'm still friends with these people and we don't talk every day, but they're still a part of my life and we're both encouraging one another. And I have you grow, right? Like as you
Mhm.
grow, you then find different communities to be a part of. So right now I do have a tight knit community and that's something that I'm really big on. Like when we talk, that's important to me because I value our relationship. So you have to have people that are in your tribe because this can be a very lonely world if you don't have it.
Yeah, and finding the right people is crazy. Like even from going on Joe's show, which I told you on that podcast, I booked 9 months in advance because that's all he had available. And then I ended up getting to meet you and Jessica and all the other people, and it was like, holy crap, this is another new group of people that I didn't know before. But now I have even more people that I can connect with that open up doors to other people. But it's funny, it's like the universe gives you who you need at the time. Because the people I started with have not done the same as before.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I just because I didn't, I've done essentially some of this, right? Like if I look at it, I've done some of it. And that's why I felt like I had to get a certification. But I'm like, I have my master's degree. Like,
Mhm.
I don't need a certification to teach me this. I just need to look back at the principles and then also put my own flair into it. Guys, we need to remember that we have our own flair that we need to put into what we are doing. So we are not alone. I know. He's my
I
little
love your
buddy.
dog.
That we're not like, again, people forget about their past.
Mhm.
Like they forget about what they've done and they feel like they started a business and this is like brand new. Like you're brand new now, you're a new baby, like you haven't done anything. And a lot of us think that way and it's just not true. We need to bring our past into what we're doing for the future because it does matter what you've done and bringing your own flair into it means that you're going to find the right tribe, you're going to find the right clients. They are buying into you.
And then price is irrelevant if you have the right value. The
Yeah,
problem is we think with our pocketbook instead of theirs. Like I've
right.
had people pay me 2,500, 5,000, or different amounts to coach and do things with them. But when I started, I was doing 250. I literally tell CEOs to invest millions of dollars, but I was so caught up in my head about when I was doing sales coaching for myself, like 3 years ago. I'm like, oh, I'll do it for 250. But then the thing that's crazy is once I raised my prices up, I found the right people that needed my service that actually would act. And it was so
Right,
much better because I almost walked away from coaching because of it, because I didn't want to deal with the people not doing what I said because my time's
right,
valuable. But I had to get to that point where I actually realized and agreed my time was valuable instead of being stuck in past bullshit stories.
right. And those old stories just bring like those patterns that you do. And when you become an entrepreneur, you have to break through those old patterns. It doesn't mean that we're not remembering what we've done. It's we're breaking old patterns that don't serve us that we thought were serving us before.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that a lot. We're not done, but I want to put it here because I never put it at the end. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on the Andrea Merrill on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and then you can always email me as well. But I typically message me on Instagram. That's the best way to find me.
Awesome. I love your dog, by the way. We have six
Thank
dogs,
you.
so
Oh my
I'm all about
gosh,
dogs. Yes, we
I
have
love
five
that.
pugs. Yeah, five pugs and a black lab, all rescues. It's just
Oh,
my wife is not allowed to go to the shelter anymore because she keeps
yeah.
picking up animals. So we have an agreement. Six is enough. It's too many. But I love dogs.
Yeah, he's always my little buddy.
Yeah.
He lays on my little lumbar support when I'm on calls. Yeah.
Oh no, it's perfect. I love it. I think it's great. And I bet you when we do reels, people will see and go, "Oh, no, no, no." And we'll
Yeah.
get tons of comments on the dog. Like, did you hear what we were talking about? Or you just see the cute dog? I think that's amazing. We talked about a bunch of different things. Is there anything else in like speaking or building themselves up with confidence, anything that we've talked about that we haven't touched on that you want to go over?
I just want people to realize that their story matters. And we every day create a new story. It's in our arsenal. And I really want to encourage people to start reaching out to their trusted people, not your friends, not your parents, not like those people, but reaching out to somebody that is like me and Joe, right? Like creating that network is so important. But you have a story that matters, and you need to have people in your corner that are telling you that every day so that you are encouraged to share your story. I also suggest writing it down in the notes section in your phone. So if a fun story happens, if something goes on, like write it down, share that. Just be yourself because that's what people buy into.
I love that. I love that so much. Andrea, thank you for being here. And
Thank
for
you.
all you listening, start writing your story. I'm going to leave us with the Doctor Who quote because I'm a sci fi nerd. We're all stories in the end. Make it a good one. You have the ability to write it out, but you have to pick up the pen and start doing what you want to do instead of what other people tell you to do. Till next time, send me some info on your stories. Send me a note on it. I want to hear about you because I'm curious about the people listening to this show, and we'll talk soon.